Welcome to the Morning Sanity Check, where we talk about the different pillars of resilience: spiritual, physical, social, and mental. Join us so we can talk about it, then be about it. Let the show begin.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Sanity Check. Hopefully, everything is going good with you. My name is Seth.
And I'm Camille.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. And we are here to talk about some good things and some realistic things. Every once in a while, we might need a sanity check and a good old fashioned love hug around the neck to get you to wake your tail on up, right? So, how's everything going with you, Camille?
Oh, this week has been pretty good. So very busy as usual. Yeah, things have been picking up for me, and in several different realms. So I am doing what I love and doing more of it, and things have been good. How about for you?
Outstanding. You know, it's good. It's good to have that and to be able to do what you love and utilize your talents, gifts, and abilities to ultimately help other people. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching right now, I want to say good morning. Please share this. This is some good stuff. Let us know that you are here and everything is good with you. If you haven't done so already, you go into streamyard.com/Facebook, and that will give us permission for you to leave your comments. So, but this is going to be a great show, ladies and gentlemen, a great show. So, Camille, how's everything going with the layer? How you ladies doing?
The layer is going well. I'm enjoying it, sharing the platform with two of my good sisters, and talking about just things that impact us as women and really as people. We have a lot of male viewers as well, who chime in and get a lot from it. So, this is just real life, talking about real life and how it impacts us. So it's going great. Join us if you haven't already. Join us.
Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't done so already, if you haven't checked out the Lioness Layer, yes, good morning. If you haven't done so already, please make sure you check them on out. As a matter of fact, we will let you see what the last episode was about. Okay, here you go.
Boundaries for me, they're fluid. I set them often, I change them often, and there are no limits. I set boundaries with everybody. Boundaries can be for family, it could be for coworkers, it could be for anybody. No one's off limits because the boundary setting is really about me.
I have certain boundaries with some people, boundaries that I don't have with other people. It depends on who they are and what they mean to me. I have boundaries with my time, boundaries with my money, boundaries with my children, boundaries with, at work, whatever it is. And then sometimes I'm like, man, I need to put a boundary in place.
Boundaries are fluid. It depends. Sometimes I might feel like I don't need a boundary with somebody, and then something might happen in my own life where I feel like it's time to kind of set those parameters at that time. So it's not one set thing, it can change. And depending about the relationship that you have with individuals, and as it changes, you might need to set those boundaries.
Yes, look, those ladies be getting it. Yo, boundaries are real. Boundaries are real. And it's so good to have that conversation and to hear it. And hopefully individuals took something from that. But ladies and gentlemen, today we're talking about the power of your story. And what we focus on is everything resilience, right? When you go through things, it's important for you to understand that you go through things for you to learn, well, for you to experience, for you to learn, and for you to share, right, that experience with other people. What you think about that, Camille?
I mean, it's so important. I know a lot of times people, talk about their stories and, I don't have to share my story or I don't have to tell, but there's so much power in sharing your story with someone else. One, to let them know that they're not alone, and two, to show them how you got through it. When we keep I like what Carrie said on Lioness Layer when she was like, a mentor told her, you can't heal what you hide. And a lot of times that's what happens. We don't talk about it, and therefore we're silently suffering. when we can be healing. So storytelling is very healing. It has told us about us through the years, over centuries and thousands of years. We learn about history through storytelling. So it's so powerful in so many different ways. And so this is just to encourage people to, share your story.
Yes, yes. And ladies and gentlemen, understand this. When we do go through things, and we come on the other side, right? We arrive, is that we believe. But keep this in mind. We've arrived to a different level, but there are individuals that may be behind you, that's watching you, and that could use that encouragement. So when you are sharing your story, understand that that story is not necessarily to brag about yourself, but it's also being transparent and letting individuals know, hey, this is what I went through. However, if I can overcome this, you can too. And then sometimes, Camille, have you ever heard or have seen this or witnessed? Individuals are real quick to, share their story, not necessarily to show empathy, but to be a one-upper. Like, oh, you think that's bad? Well, look, I got shot. And I got shot, right? Listen, you get what I'm saying? Like, oh, okay, like really, okay, we got it. Okay,
right.
Listen, I understand.
You've been through some things, okay.
Look, I understand you've been through some things, and look, I'm just talking about a bad day at work. So you're going to give me that extreme? Is it that serious for you to share that story and not necessarily showing a correlation? What'd you think about that? You ever deal with people like that?
All the time. You feel like, okay, and that has to do with what? I have a good way of kind of bringing
oranges,
apples and oranges. Yes. And it's just like, sometimes people just need for you to listen, because it's therapy in talking about it. Some people, they need that release. It's just being a listening ear, not trying to one up. We've all been through some things, some people have been through some like serious tragedies, but to hear them talk about it, you would think that it was like, oh, I just got nicked, when I was walking past a couch or something like that. And then you find out that they had a whole building fall on them. You know what I mean? And you're like, but you over here trying to one up them talking about, oh, well, I got cut, on my arm from here to here. And it's like, okay.
Right. Yeah. And it's crazy too, because when you are sharing your story to encourage individuals, but you're not necessarily doing it for that reason, you want to be heard, what you do is you diminish the other individual's story. It's like, yo, this is what I'm going through. So what we're talking about today, ladies and gentlemen, is a way to empathize with individuals. Say, hey, look, I don't know what that feels like, but if I was in your situation, I think I would feel the same way. Right.
Exactly.
And then ask them, do you mind if I share this story with you? So maybe you can, pick. So you're saying this to yourself. You're going to ask them, hey, do you mind if I share something with you? And if they are receptive to that, cool. And if not, if you can see that they're just caught up in their stuff right now, maybe they don't necessarily need you to say something. Maybe they just need you to shut up and listen.
That's so true.
Yeah.
That's
now,
so
have you
true.
dealt with that?
Absolutely. And I've seen it done too. And it's like, when I see it done, I'm kind of like cringing. And then I also try to be very cognizant of myself as well. Because when somebody comes to you, what you don't want to do is make it about you. You know what I mean? You don't want to turn their experience into your experience.
Right.
And take that, whatever they're going through, whatever they're trying to share with you from them. This might be the first time that they've ever spoken about something. And then you just hijack their whole stage. You know what I'm saying? You have just completely hijacked that particular situation. And then when we do say stuff like, hey, may I share my story? And they say yes, you don't want to, again, make it all about you. So you don't want to spend a whole lot of time about you. Just tell the part that's relevant to their story, or the part that's going to help them to get over that. They don't need to know from the Rudy to the Tootie. You know what I mean? They don't need to know that part. Just what is relevant about your story that will connect with them to help them to, bring out that other thing and maybe make them go, oh, or man, I'm not alone.
Right.
So,
right. And it's so important, ladies and gentlemen. So when we're sharing, so we're talking about us talking to individuals and sharing our stories, but what we have to make sure we understand is the individuals that's listening to the story. What do you think that your story is going to do? All right. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, good morning. Good morning. This is the Sanity Check. We're talking about the power of your story and how you've gone through things and how your story can encourage other individuals to go through things as well. And it is necessary, but you also have to understand your audience. All right. Understand your audience, because there may be times when you have experienced something, but you may not be well versed in communicating that to a certain audience. It's okay to receive coaching. Okay. Hey, listen, it's okay to receive some coaching to learn how to communicate the right message the right way. What you think about that, Camille?
That's true. Storytelling, people think that, oh, you can just get up, or this person just gets up and tells their story. Stories have specific elements to them, that grab a person's attention, that keeps them interested, that plays on emotions, that, when you're coming from an authentic place and you're just sharing your story, you're just giving it real and raw. You know what I mean? And you don't understand that those mechanics are still in play. You know what I mean? You're bearing your soul. You're connecting with the energy of the other person or with the experience of the other person. You are, sharing the highs and the lows of that. Because you'll see people, they be like, dang, down, I was down and dumb. But then I was thinking like, fool, what you doing over here? Like, and so there's that element of humor that's often thrown in there. Inadvertently and unintentionally, but we do that because that's what storytelling is, right? So we're telling these things, we're recalling these things, but there is a specific structure to effective storytelling, which is really funny because, like we used to sit down with grandma, she used to just tell you what it was, you know what I mean? Tell you going through all this. And as I look back, talking about studying, the power of your stories, I can see all those things in play in just conversations with her, So, what about you? I mean,
when it comes down to the story, I realize this. What is one of the most important things at that time is the individual's time, right? So I need to make sure the story that I pick to that's suitable for that situation is right on point, right on time. So just like you said, there's some mechanics to it. A, I understand where you're coming from. B, here's a short story. And C, this is what I learned from that. However, what happens is individuals, good morning. What's going on, everybody? Good morning, Crystal. How you feeling? So what happens is individuals will get on a tangent when they say, hey, I got a quick story for you. Or you know what they say, to make a long story short. Well, make it short then. Stop talking so dang on much.
Just one more thing. Hold on.
It's one more thing. Hold on. Shut up.
Well, let me just tell you this real quick.
Right. Look, you said what you just said 4 times already. So not only did I get it, but now I'm more focused on your story and your point versus what I was trying to learn. Now, in my mind, I'm trying to figure out what you're going to do next. What? You see? So we have to understand that not every story has to be long and drawn out just to paint the dang on picture. You can just scribe it real quick, right? And then listen, let it go. Let them come up with their own, interpretation. You understand? Yes. Chill on out. So I think that, like I said, when it comes down to telling stories and sharing your stories, understand that you're giving individuals a little drip drop, of a jewel. You don't have to give them a whole, what is it when you're writing in school, a dissertation? Listen,
the whole novel of your life. Here you go.
Okay, that happened when you was 11 years old and you remember everything about it, the color of your dress and the color of the person that did it to you. Got it. What's the point? Wrap it up. You remember that in Dave Chappelle, they used to have when somebody was talking too long, it's like on the they say, hey, wrap it up. Okay, wrap it up. Get on off the stage. So we have to make sure that if we do have a story, set it, forget it, go on about your business, and make sure your intent is there. What you think?
Absolutely, because you'll lose people when you get into unimportant details and you go around the mulberry bush. I'm kind of like that too. When people just keeps talking about nothing, or the unimportant things or things that don't pertain to whatever it is, I don't need to know the whole backstory. I just need the part that's relevant for now, because time is precious. Time is money. Time is attention, attention. And a lot of us don't have it. So, I don't want to tune out, especially when I'm, trying to be in the moment with that person, or especially when there's time limits on something. You don't want to hijack that entire time either. So you have to be careful about, the details that you do choose. Make them meaningful. Make them memorable, and make them, or express them in a way that you, again, don't hijack that other person's experience.
Yeah.
So,
look, shout out to Lily. He says sometimes we think that we're helping or relating by telling our story, but it takes away from the other person's moments, right? And then that's if they want to share. So that's the key. Look, Larry, no doubt, like, get to the point, because it's like, hey. Look, if I love you enough or appreciate you enough, I want to be able to share something with you, just for you to sometimes give me a little bit of guidance. And then, hey, you might be so willing to share your story that you don't realize that the other person didn't ask for it.
Right.
Hey, check it out. You don't know everything. Now, you know what you went through, but hey, if you waking up today, right, had a conversation with someone today about it and said, look, if you woke up today, you have an opportunity to learn more. So even though you went through something, that doesn't mean that, okay, you need to do what I did. You get what I'm saying? So, and let me tell you how to do it. Now, like, what are you doing? You see what I'm saying? So yes, you're taking that away from people.
You are. And the other thing is, when we're hopping from story to story. So we have one way. Oh, hold on. Let me just tell you about this real quick. Let me tell you about, and you're jumping all over. And then it's like you completely lost the essence of that moment, the power of that moment, where you could have capitalized on that thing, that point, that person's issue or whatever. Now you went on a whole adventure, and it's like, okay, I don't know where this is. And then it's like, oh, I forgot what I was trying to say.
Yeah,
I forgot how to bring that back, because we don't went on this, whole tangent about all these things that were not relevant to the person, the story, or our experience with it. And so
whole damn thing,
everything. So you'll lose people there too. And the thing about storytelling, Seth, if I may, my mother. I'm sorry. Okay, look, I'm gonna be that person right now. I gotta take off on the stage. When me and my mom be on the top, or when she's like talking, and my mother, she loves to talk, and she has some really a lot of wisdom and everything like that. But sometimes she be jumping around. I'd be like, Mom, too long. Time out, cut it off. Like I will come tap and be like, too long. And she's
And look, that's the point. That's what I was going to ask. And ladies and gentlemen, if y'all tuning in, hey, good morning. But we're talking about how important it is to share your story. But what's the best way that you can let a person know, hey, I got it.
Right.
I got it. I got it. See, because you don't want to be a jerk and say, hey, okay, bruh, cut it off. So how do you let individuals, because, Camille, to your point, your mother and, you say,
yeah,
okay, that's mom dudes, right? So you can say that. But if you have someone that's coming to you in confidence, they really want to hear, they want you to hear them. And then, but they keep on going on. How do you get them to wrap it on up?
So oftentimes I'll kind of interject if it's just going way left or way too long. I'll like, can I just jump in for a minute, And so I bring it back to the point at hand. And, I'll say, okay. And then I'm like, well, thank you for sharing your story. If it's more than one person, you know what I mean? Thank you for sharing your story. Let me give somebody else an opportunity. Is there anything that may be related to that person so they don't feel left out or to the point that we're trying to make? And so when I'm in group settings and we're doing that, that's how I bring the room back to the original point. And sometimes I will choose something specifically. It's like, let me interject real quick. So I heard you say, and then I'll tie that back into that thing so that they still feel heard and valued. They don't feel like they were, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah. And then let somebody else talk about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I try to be as gentle that way as possible. If it's a one-on-one, I'll still interject, and bring it back to the point.
Yeah, I dig that. But first, hey, look, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Do us a favor, hit that share button. It only take 2 seconds. Look, your finger probably over it right now. Hit the share button. Let folks know that you are down with the sanity check. And we're talking about the power of your story. So keep in mind, we're not necessarily talking about, people that just are, have chief running mouths and don't know how to cut it on off. We're talking about how important it is for you to share your story in the right way, because you can ultimately help someone. Lily says, cut off phrase, what are you planning to do about it? Right? Or how did you deal with that? Yes. Right. So why they going on? So what you
I know. Lily, my friend, where you been? I miss your comments. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Oh, but that's the truth. Like sometimes you're like, oh, really? Word?
Yeah.
So then
what you plan on doing?
Hey, so you get what I'm saying? Sometimes people need that level of accountability to throw it back at them. So basically what you're doing is you telling me how much of the hero you are, or you're the victim. One of the two. So now my job is to say, okay, now what? What you see? Right. And then they back it on up. Oh, gotcha. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? That's crazy.
Yeah. So it was a lesson in that, would you ever do that again? Or how would you work with that different?
Right. Yeah. Working and getting it in. Shout out to everybody that's out there that's chiming in, that's watching, right? We do appreciate y'all. We're talking about our power, the power of our story, and how the things that you go through can help someone else go through that too, but better. Because I had a conversation with an individual at work the other day, and they said that I see my daughter she has been protected, and here she is getting ready to graduate high school, but I feel as though she is not ready. And because she says the reason why I feel this way is because the things that I went through, I wanted to protect her from those things, so she didn't experience. And then so I threw it back at her like this. I said, sometimes when we go through different potholes in life, we feel it, but then our children, we want to protect them from those potholes. The deal is we should be able to be there, tell them, hey, those potholes are there and they hurt. You understand? But let them run over it if they say, well, you know what, whatever. And then come back. No, you're right. Do. So it's a way to tell the story, to lead, but to also let individuals experience it at the same time. What you think about that?
Absolutely. We do that a lot. Our own experiences shadow a lot of times, or kind of, I don't know why hijack is in my mind. Hijack other people's experiences, right? So even our children, I had to realize that what I went through, they probably won't go through. You know what I mean? And I share my story, or I don't want y'all to have to go through this, but you need to learn how to get through life, and I am not going to be there 24/7. So here are some of my experiences. These are the things that you should look out for. Not to say, but if you want to go to a concert or you want to go hang out, do that. Do it responsibly. Here's some things that maybe you should have on you. Always have a little, pocket money for yourself that you can get, a cab or Uber, or you can get something to eat, or you can, like things like that. You can make an emergency phone call if you need to, have a battery charger, have a little, I'm not condoning violence, a little K-blade or some mace or whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? Okay, they have mini ones. They have mini ones. So, we ain't doing switchblades and pocket, that type things, but they have little bitty ones, but just, as a measure, especially when you're raising girls, as a measure of protection. And like I said, I'm not condoning violence, but, also I'm not telling you to be scared. I'm telling you to be prepared. You know what I'm saying? And that's the difference. And so it's like, I'm not, and sometimes there are some places like my older daughter, she's 24 and she wants to go and do it. And I just shake my head and I'm like, look, you know how I feel about it. Be careful. I know, Mom, I will. I'll call you. And she does, and so I don't want to totally derail her life experience because mine was not good. She has to have her own stories to tell.
Absolutely.
And so I
Absolutely.
don't want her to live my life, you know, because I was trying to protect
Exactly.
them from
Exactly.
everything.
And so you're absolutely right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, and those of you that's just tuning in, we want to welcome y'all to another sanity check. And we're talking about sharing your story and how important it is. And with that, in that same respect, I remember going through some things back home, in high school, and my mother was watching me from a distance. Okay, she was watching me from a distance. Oh, look, she said, "Got pepper spray. Yep, and stun gun charged in my car." Hey, okay, so that's how y'all pack it. Right on.
Hey,
But but I
we've been
came
through some
home.
things.
Oh yeah, hey, but that's the point, right? So I came home one day, and I want y'all to pick up what I'm putting down because I ain't gonna put it all out there, but you can dig it, right? Because we grown. So I came home one day, in the middle of the night, a little out there, you dig. And so my mom saw me, and she was like, "Hey, what's going on with you?" Right? And I was startled, if you will, and very nervous, if you can dig it. And so I said, "Hey, mama, she said, "Hey, what's going on? You okay? You okay?" She was really in my face, right? Giving me the heebie-jeebies. I was scared, right? And so when I finally came to, if that makes sense, I said, "Hey, she says, here, look, sit down, let me talk to you." And she talked to me. She says, "Hey, I know what you're doing. I know what's going on." She says, "I used to do the same thing." Right. And I'm like, whoa. So what that does is it shows humility. So when you're sharing your story, it gives individuals the opportunity to see you at a different level. Like, wow, like you never known. So individuals that you have such high regards for, you would never think they would do certain things that you have done, but they are willing to show you, yo, I'm human too. I
Yes.
did it. And look, this is the deal. She said, "I did what you used to do and I got caught." She said, "Oh, right." So what she told me was, "I respect the fact that you are still doing the things that you're doing in school, right? I was on honor roll. I was still getting, but I had, it was a weekend, so I didn't care, right?" So she said, "But look, be careful, boo, 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 and just don't be stupid." She says, "You're stupid if you keep doing things that you get caught." She said, "Don't be like me," right? And I was like, wow. You see what I'm saying? So, ladies and gentlemen, we talking about us sharing our story and how important it is and what that can do. It can humanize individuals. You've dealt with that, Camille?
Oh, absolutely. You know, my kids be like, they'll tell everybody, like, we can't get away with nothing. Like, and I'm like, "Mom, how you know?" "Because I did what you did." You know what I mean? And my oldest daughter was like, "Man, I swear ain't nothing." She told my friend, y'all don't even try it because my mama already know. And my youngest one's like, "Dang, Mom, like, did you do everything?" I'm like, "Probably."
Right.
And
Right.
you are my child. So I see behaviors, I see attitudes, I see, what you're doing, friends, things like that. And I could put two and two together. Like, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
But I do share my stories with my children. We have a very open relationship. Now I try to spare them the horrible details,
Yes.
but I do them enough because, like I said, when my youngest daughter was 11, she was asking me about my relationships, and I was like, "Oh, baby, you don't need to know about that, kid." She was like, "Well, how am I supposed to know how to get through life if you don't tell me how, what you go through?" And I was just kind of like, "You're absolutely right." And I found that I can do that in a way that doesn't traumatize my children, still allows them to get the lesson out of it. But then they understand also that Mom has been through some things.
Yes.
And here's why I make the decisions that I make, or here's, the backstory. So all the time, my mother she was a goody two shoes. I was not. I think I took after my father. He called himself the packing preacher because my daddy was known to always have his gun on his hip. Back in the day, my daddy was a force to be reckoned with. Well, I got that gene. And so my mom was in her good girl role, and I was like my father. And so it took her a while to catch on. It took her a while, but when she did, she really didn't know what to do with it. But we had some hard times, and I had some hard experiences growing up because of my hard head. So I just tell my children, although I don't want you to go through the same thing, and you can learn from other people's experiences and stories. I understand that there's a natural curiosity in life and you have to live your life, but be careful, like your mom.
Absolutely.
Be careful.
You have to. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a pause for the calls, but when we come back, we're going to talk about this. One of the things, what about people who like to embellish their stories to try to impress their listeners? And also, yes, those one-uppers, right? So, yeah. Yo, look, those are we're gonna
The
get
worst
into that in a
kind.
minute. Yes, worst kind. So hey, y'all stick around and we'll be right back.
Integrity Consulting and Professional Services LLC is a minority, female-owned, nonprofit management consulting agency located in Humble, Texas, north of Houston. The owner, Jackie Dozier, has over 36 years of nonprofit and for-profit business management experience. She can take your idea from thought to manifestation while offering a myriad of services to help you successfully manage your business along the way. Her services include state filing anywhere in the United States, getting your employee identification number and 501c3 tax determination, providing cooperative and service agreements and mandatory documents, one-on-one grant writing training and consultation, board and staff development, and more. Ms. Dozier's clients include the U.S. Departments of Health and Human Services, the Administration of Children and Youth, U.S. and Caddo Parish, Louisiana Departments of Education, and the list goes on. References are available. Check her out on our Facebook page, Integrity Consulting and Professional Services LLC, and contact her by email at integrityconsultingpsllc@gmail.com. Rates are competitive. Say you heard about her on Sanity Check for a 5% discount. ICPS, providing all of your small business and grant writing needs with integrity and professionalism.
All right, hey, welcome back, everybody. We're talking about the power of your spirit and how important it is to share it. But before we go up in there, I do want to let you guys know that we appreciate all of your help and support for the village. Today I'm going shopping, going shopping to get these kids these board games and the cards and everything that they need. And for those that nonprofit organization in St. Louis, Missouri, that help mentor, coach, and inspire and teach young men how to be better men, right? So, but during the COVID pandemic, there's individuals that weren't able to leave their home due to the whatever type of compromised situations, health situations that they've had. So the incentive is to give board games so that they can still talk and have fun with their family. So with the Lions Pride Network has done, we created this incentive called in front of the mic incentive, where we give, and that's what we're doing. So thanks to all of you, we will be able to go shopping for those kids today. So y'all watch out for those pictures so y'all can see that these kids is learning how to play bid whist. You understand? Hey, for those of you that don't know, you got to get it together. Get your bid whist and your dominoes situated. But yes, shout out to everybody that has given and everything. We do appreciate y'all. Now, going back, and we talked a little bit about sharing your story and those one-uppers. Okay, those individuals that want to share their story, but now they instead of sharing their story, they want the whole stage, and now they're the TED Talk. You understand? What you giggling about, Camille? What you think about that?
I just thought about the whole back in the day. I don't know why I'm echoing, but back in the day, the whole Kanye and Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like yo, what you're saying is all right, but check this out. What are you doing? Like, shut up. You know what I'm saying? And like we said before, it brings down, it just diminished the whole purpose of that. Now, have you ever dealt with someone that was the one-upper, and no matter what the conversation was, they said, oh yeah, well, guess what happened to me? And you get what I mean? Every situation. Have you ever dealt with that?
I have. Because again, like I said, I've gone through a lot of things in my life. I try to use those specific situations for a specific person or scenario. But there are some people who just feel like they have to have the stage when nobody is talking to them. And I give it to them, because I do, because at that point, it's not about me. It's about the person or, the other. And so I just listen, and I give them, relinquish it for a while. But what you'll find out with those people with one-uppers and things like that is kind of like my mom was saying, they start embellishing stories. and they start adding, and everybody be like, really? Like, you know, and then they don't you tell it a whole different way, a whole nother time. And you like,
Right.
So I let them have the stage sometimes, you know, unless it's something where I really have to step in and do it. And because ultimately, you know, my story is my story, and it'll get to the people who need it, and people come back and they be like, so you were saying this, so, you know, okay. So
I'm a little different, right on. So what I do is if there's a story going on, okay, and if the individual that has the issue, they're sharing a story, and I'm a listener, I'm a receiver, they are the sender, but individuals want to inject themselves, right? And say, well, no, I remember when, or I get you, because when it happened to me, you know, I got robbed too. And then so what I do is I try to find a way to use some Jedi mind trick as they bring themselves in the story. I bring themselves out of it. You dig? To say, okay, right on, but back to you.
Yeah. It depends on the situation.
Hey, I'm cutthroat with it, because what I don't like individuals to do is to feel disrespected, right? She says, your mom says, I've seen the one uppers and embellished in church testimonies, right? Maybe some reason church cut them off. Listen, yes, look, sometimes you got to cut people's mic off. Like, hey, because I just want to say, look, I remember I was going through this, and then this happened, and this is about to right on. Okay, right on. However, not everybody is going through that current thing, but we have to be mindful of our audience, just like I said. You know what I mean? Just like I said, but you have to make sure that you help individuals, right? You help individuals, and if you understand that their story is important, you help to create that space that they feel confident in sharing it.
Yes. And I do that a lot, especially if I'm in a facilitator or instructor role, and people, you know, want to one up, or somebody sharing a story or something. I'm very, very good at redirecting, or, you know, this is not the time. I do them all. I do. People always say, like, you did that so smooth, like, you know, and that's the point. I don't want to embarrass anybody, especially in those types of settings. Now, if it's just a one-on-one conversation, sometimes I'm just shut up. Like, ain't nobody's hurting me, you know. But I try not to be that harsh, but sometimes I am. If it's that one person, you know, that's always trying to do that. But I've learned to have some tact about it, because it often happens in a more structured you know, setting where it is a facilitation or an instruction, or somebody's sharing something about. When that happens, I know how to reel them in real good.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then there's times when we have to bring other energy in to kind of redirect what that individual is trying to inject in the conversation, right? Absolutely. Because there are times when you know, the setting is created for learning, okay, or created for inspiration. However, based off of the story that you are sharing may bring down the whole vibe, and now everybody is focused on who did what to you and why for. You get what I'm saying? And so now we sitting down listening to your story like it's a soap opera. Now so now when we're leaving, right, whatever the meeting or this facilitation or this whatever the case is, we're leaving that now we're more focused on you than the whole purpose of us even coming. So we need to be cognizant of what is the reason why, which just like WAIT, the acronym WAIT, right? Why am I talking? So you want to ask yourself, how do I want individuals to feel after I'm done talking? If you go into a conversation wanting individuals to be encouraged, if you want them to feel better about a different situation, whatever the case is, keep that in the forefront of your mind and know when to cut it off and bring it back to them.
Exactly. Or I'll just give you guys, and we're talking about the power of our story here, you know, and I'm very open about a lot of my stories, because there's no one single story in my life. There's a series of stories. And so just as an example, I was teaching what we call Green Dot back in the day, or violence prevention. And so I'm a violence prevention coordinator. And so we had to teaching about sexual harassment and changing the culture in the workplace. And so I do have a very compelling story. So in one particular course I used to talk about, when I was 15, I got kidnapped. And so there were some traumatic things that happened. I don't go into the dirty details of what happened, but I was, talking about this and how there was one person who made a choice, put his life on the line for me, that got me home, and I talk about him. I call him my angel, and his name is Duke.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, as I'm telling this story, and I only take the first 5, maybe 10 minutes of the course to explain this. But as I'm going through the story, there are some highs and some lows. But at the end of the day, and I'm like, if it wasn't for the one person who made the choice to separate from the crowd and say, hey, let me help her, I may not be standing here today. And I've been able to share my story, and I've been able to, help others who have been in similar situations. And so we go through and we're like laughing and joking and everything. And so one particular one, this guy's just bawling. He's bawling in the class, bawling and bawling. Mm-hmm. We go on the break and I'm like, are you okay? He's like, I just, and it was just that my story, he was like, I just can't believe. And I'm like, I'm here. I'm good. I'm healthy. I'm laughing. I'm teaching you guys some things. And then I found out that it resonated with him, in his own personal life. And so it had triggered something in him. So I'm also very careful now before I begin my story to say, hey, I'm going to talk about some real stuff. And here's kind of what it entails. If it's a trigger for you, then absolutely. If you want to get up and walk out, then please do. I don't go into the dirty details or anything like that. But, it caused him to go out and get help, though, because it was that connection. It's connecting the story, what we're talking about, our personal experience, you bringing them through those, hills and valleys. And at the end, I always leave on a high note. I never leave them with that baggage, because I don't have that baggage. I can tell the story now because I've gone through some things in counseling and healing, and still do. There's some residuals, but at the end of the day, here I am. You know what I mean? Life is good. So
and that's good. And so even with that being said, individuals need to know when they have that skill and when they don't. It is okay. Because what I mean by that is, just because we went through something does not mean that we are able or we are skilled enough to communicate that to other individuals. You have to have the knowledge and the certain training to set the stage correctly. You get what I mean? Like, for example, what we do, right? What we do, it's years of training, years of coaching, years of learning, and years of learning how to connect with people versus just communicate with people, right? So we are in a situation where it becomes easy for us. Now, not everybody have that skill, and they feel as though because they went through something, I'm a witness now, so now I can talk about it. Not yet. Not yet, because the way individuals will pick up what you're saying can leave them more confused than they were before they actually, came to listen to you. So when you're sharing your story, make sure it's carved right. And so what we want to do is make sure we give you all some information on how to do that. You can get with Toastmasters, right? Toastmasters is a great thing. You can also go to other get with other coaches to help you to formulate your story, because everyone has a story. Your story and the things that you went through are valid. Okay, but you also have to make sure that if you want to share it, it's packaged the right way. And then, because what I'm saying is, if it's not packaged the right way, you can't be upset when individuals take it the wrong way, right? Because you didn't prepare it correctly, right? And you can't expect individuals to take what you said and feel it and hold it with such care, because you didn't put the care behind it in order to communicate with individuals. You get what I'm saying? What do you think?
Absolutely. It is very strategic. Storytelling is very strategic. It's done for a reason. Even, our ancestors and, Native American cultures, Chinese, Japanese, they were very strategic in their stories. There was always an underlying lesson that was interwoven in it. They just didn't give you the guts and didn't leave you there. No, it was a story of, the what do you call it, the adversity that they faced.
Yeah.
It was a story of how they had to, critical thinking, how they had to get through, how they had to outsmart people, how they had to come together and collaborate, how they had to build these villages of people, of parents, when certain things were happening, and the results of that. So stories are always, they are very structured. There's a lot of mechanics to stories, but here's the thing I don't want people to walk away from today thinking that you have to be perfect in telling your story, right? So there's so much power in just telling your story. You start there. I think a lot of times there's a lot of people out there. I know my mom was like, you have powerful stories and waiting on a book, but there's a lot of people out there who have books in them. They have, like, I won't say everybody. I'll say there's a lot of people. I guess you could. Everybody could. Yeah. But there are some people that's what they're called to do, or they have that, that thing in them, but they worry too much about, is it going to sound right? Is it going to do all these things? Well, there are people in place that do that, like my friend, I edited her book and I got journal transcripts, a whole bunch of them that I had to put together and figure out and do some research and ask and all kinds of things to formulate that whole from the Rudy to the Tootie story, and then I had to extract things that weren't necessarily important. I had to elaborate on things that were great lessons or, very important for her culture. And so I would say, if you're one of those people that have a book in you, don't wait to get it absolutely right. What you need to do is find the right people who can help develop that for you, understand structuring mechanics, and then go. But yes, to your point, Seth, like I said, I just want people to get that part. Sometimes you can do more damage than good if you're not careful.
Absolutely.
But we all have a story. We need to tell our stories. We need to, for healing as well.
That's right.
You can't heal what you hide.
That's
and
right.
So even if it's a trusted friend or a counselor or, your whoever it is that's close to you that you have trust in, sometimes you just have to do word bombing, get it all out, but understand too, sometimes you got to give a disclaimer too. Like, look, I'm going through some things and because we got to be emotionally ready to take that as well.
Got to. No. You're absolutely right. And also too, keep this in mind, family. Not everybody, look, put it like this. Everyone has a story.
Yes.
Not every story needs to be told. There are stories that need to be shown, if that makes sense, right? So what I mean by that is this. You may not be able to put your story in a book, but you can put your story in the way that you treat other people. You understand? The way that you can put it in something like this, like another sanity check. You understand? Yes. So it doesn't have to be in a physical book. However, you have to find the way to communicate your story to individuals in every different, or if not every one facet of it, meaning
Yes.
A facet of your senses. So you got individuals that can pick up through the reading, right? And maybe through music. You can tell your story through your artistic notes. You get what I'm saying? Because that resonates with individuals. Right on?
Even art.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the thing is, it's not always in a book. Your story does not have to be typed. You dig what I'm saying? Not everybody have that gift, and not everybody needs other people to do that. You get what I'm saying? Because with that being said, I remember when I did my book, I had 2 different editors. The reason why is because I wanted not just my voice there, but I want someone to edit my stuff and edit the other person's stuff, but then it would still, there. So I needed those eyes. So the thing is, we have so many different talents that we can utilize to that we can utilize to tell our stories to essentially help people. So
Yes.
how can you tell a story to an individual that can't read?
Yes.
You get what I'm
So,
saying?
yes, and there's so many creative ways to do that. Like you were talking about, sometimes it's video, or it could be art. Actual people, tell whole stories in pictures. Other people, there's stories in clothing. A lot of the Native Americans or Africans or
Yeah.
tribal people, they tell stories by the garments that they have on, or the symbols that are on, the placement, the colors. There's an entire story. Some people, that's how they get out. It's that creative thing that, this is the way that it manifests. And it's not
Yeah.
always in a book, and it's not always audible,
Yeah.
And so we have to look at ourselves. Some people like poems,
Yeah.
instead of just a book, they do poetry
That's right.
or spoken word. That's fine. Whatever that is, though, there are so many stories in us, and we just have to learn. I was in a look at me. I got 1,000 stories. Had to stop myself.
See?
Anyway, I was in the store. No, it's very relevant though. So I was in a couple courses, and we're talking about how we don't know that we're creative. And so when it's hard to, people tell us to tell our story, we automatically think we have to sit down and write this long, and that's not it. It's using your creative faculties to find out which way is best for you.
That's
you
right.
know, so I ain't going. It wasn't a long story, but I'm just saying,
Look at you. Now, hey, you know what you're doing. Now you start to think like, damn, am I talking too much? No, it's okay. It's okay. Hey, this is the standing check. It's okay. But look, to your point, even to your mom's point, yes, tattoo stories.
Yes.
Right? Listen, I got like 20 something, right? And they all mean something. But see, this is the deal. Your stories, or the things that you have, that art, it opens up the space to have a story. For example, my where is it? On this side, there it is. So I have a rose here, right here on my neck, but it's not too crazy, so I ain't looking freaky, but it's right here on my neck. But it represents the manifestation, not necessarily the manifestation, but the life, but also the death and the life of my mother, because what she gave me is blooming. You understand? Still. So that helps create a story, right on. And so that is a way that we can connect with people, especially those that have lost someone that is dear to them. Like, hey, this is how I express and how I honor her, right? Because I love art, I love tattoos, but I will always love her. And whatever happened to my body, that's gonna be there. You dig? Because she's gonna be there. But then here's something else crazy. Did y'all ever think, and hey, if y'all can dig it, y'all can dig it. If not, whatever. There are stories in dancing, just like
absolutely.
you said with like a like our Native Americans and Africans. And don't forget, stateside, what you think crip walking is? Check it out. It's a story in that, but you gotta know how to read it. You know what I'm saying? But so it's different ways we can communicate, right? But it's so natural for us to do, but do what's natural for you. So that's a quick transition to being able to tell your story your way. You understand? And watch this. Can't nobody tell your story. Come on now. Can't nobody tell your story better than you. So if you put your story in someone else's hands, how do you think they're going to shape it and formulate that? What you think about that, Camille?
Well, that's been my story here over the last 8 months, having somebody literally put their life story in my hand. And I always would say, laugh, like, you really trusted me with your life, girl. You only get one shot at this, But for whatever reason, she trusted me enough to do that. But I did learn a lot in that process, because I had to put myself in her shoes. I had to become her character in a lot of ways. I had to go through and judge at my own emotion and make sure that was hers, as we're talking. And again, finding out the history of it so that I did her story service. in terms of that, because I was like, I don't want to ruin anybody else's story. And if things are off track, let me know. You know what I mean? If this isn't what it is, or this is, I'm a little off here, please help me. But to see the response to that you can find people, and I'm just thinking, little old me, you know what I mean? She asked me to do it. But the impact that it is making in the South Sudanese community, not just the South Sudanese, but a lot of African communities, the reviews that it got just are jaw-dropping. But you have to be careful. And that's why I said, what would make you think that I could be the one? That the heads of these people are writing back and saying, this is a book that everybody in our communities need to read. And I'm like, why would you trust me with your life? Literally. She was like, I don't know. It was like, it just dropped in my heart. God put it in my heart to choose you. And I was like, and so I had to go inside, and I learned a lot about myself too, that because I am a storyteller, because I do have stories that can also translate into helping other people. But you do have to be careful, because I've read other people's stories that they've put in the hands of other people. And I'm like, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to. And my prayer was always, God, let this thing do what it's supposed to. And please let me do her service, her story service.
So, you know what? And I would say this too, for your, in your particular situation, the thing is, if you have a gift to tell a story and to help put stories together, that, and especially a gift of giving, why not? So if someone has that thought and that feeling, like, I think Camille would be great at that, and I believe, and like I feel her spirit, then it ain't too much to think about. It is what it is. It's not because look, it's a difference between warriors and warriors. You dig? If you spend too much time worrying about things, you can't get it in. So we're going to talk about other ways to tell your story. Let's say I'm a singer, right? Or a rapper. It's important for me to find the right producer to help to take my story, so that not only can individuals hear it and understand it from with the left side of their brain, but the right music to activate the right side of the brain, so they are feeling it both ways, not just from their mind, but also their hearts. So we need to make sure we are able and willing to connect with the right producers to help get things to where we need it to go. For example, there might be individuals out there that's great at doing one thing, but you would be better with help. All right. You can, your story can reach millions instead of just hundreds, right? Or tens, or just your family, if you can connect with another producer that is great at doing something that you are not, and that you trust. Now, don't get me wrong, not everybody is good at doing that, but they make you think they are. But look at their track records, right on. Look and see what they have produced, and look at the things that the individuals that they've connected with.
Yes.
The individuals that they helped, the individuals that they've served, and say, you know what, I think it would be right on time. And then you connect with them to get your story out there anyway, from a book, from a song, even dance. Like Camille, she said she can't dance, save her life, or didn't. But look, check this out. She got someone to help her to learn how to salsa and to Latin dance. But with that being said, she can now express herself in movement, but had to have someone help her to do that. So we got to be able to get outside of ourselves to do that.
Absolutely. And that's true. I could, I have rhythm. We have to have the basics, for people to work with. I have rhythm now. I could dance other ways, but I could not dance Latin dance. Look. Don't. Okay. I know I told my story, but yeah. So he could work with that, and then my willingness to try something new. Same thing with the book, my willingness to say yes, even though it was something that I wasn't, because honestly, we have to challenge ourselves, even with our stories. How much of that can we tell? Pushing ourselves out of our box. And a lot of people, like, stories fall flat when you just talk about facts.
Mhm.
You know, we want to skip the emotional part, but that's the part that connects with people. You
Mhm.
know, it's one thing in reading a list of facts than reading and where you can see yourself and you can feel what that person is going through. Those are the kind of books that like grab me. You know what I mean? That I can put myself in that person's place.
Mhm.
So a book is not just a book, or a story is not just a story. You have to have certain elements, like you said, to connect with that person, whether it's music, that 808 bass, that, you know, heartbeat that you got
Mhm.
going on, you know,
Mhm.
that tribal something, you know, telling that story. And then there's those people that have like the little things like Pharrell. You know what I mean? You got the bass and you got the main thing, but it's those little pew,
Mhm.
pew, those
Yeah.
little, you know,
Mhm.
that you can hear in the background, but you
Mhm.
have to have a certain kind of ear to
Right.
have that. And
Mhm.
so when you, like you said, a song could be good, but when you couple it with somebody else who can hear the in between, the
Mhm.
little things, man, that thing can get great.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, so that's super super important.
Very
And
important.
yeah,
Very
super
important.
important.
And ladies and gentlemen, family, we want to make sure y'all know that you're here on the Sanity Check, and we're talking about the power of your story. The last point that I want to talk about is, don't think that people don't want to hear it.
Yes.
Don't think that your story is not good enough. Don't think that, or try not to, and we're encouraging you to not to feel afraid of sharing your story, because there are individuals out there. We will talk about those haters. There's haters out there that don't think that your story is relevant. Okay, it may not be relevant to you right on, but is relevant to me. And if I am going through this, I know for sure somebody else is going through it and they don't see the light of day. And now that I see it, and maybe, hey, since you didn't go through this, you can't dig it, but there's other people that may dig it. So I want to encourage you all, do not be afraid to share your story. Practice, talk to individuals that support you in your story, and that understands how important it is for you to birth your story, because there's individuals that don't care. They don't understand that something is inside of you that you need to get out. Some people don't give a damn. You understand? So you have to connect with individuals that can help you do that. But don't be afraid, and do it in the best way that's comfortable for you, so it can naturally happen. Now, what you think about that, Camille? How important is it to surround yourself with individuals to help you tell your story?
It's important. You need a good balance. You need the people who are going to be honest with you, you know, who are going to encourage you no matter what. And then there are going to be the people that are going to be honest with you about, you know, certain elements of your story. The people who deter you from telling your story, you might want to be careful about them. But yes, you do need that kind of 360 feedback, so to speak. You need that support system, but you need to tell your story. But again, there are experts that help to do that, because typically our friends are not the ones that know how to
Yeah.
put a story together. You know, we're all in the same boat. We're rookies at this, right? So you need to find a person, and sometimes it takes not the paper part, but just vocalizing it.
That's
And
right.
people go, you know what? That's something right there. Maybe we can do something with that.
Mhm.
You know, and so you have to again surround yourself with, I always say, a diverse group of people. You
Mhm.
know, my friends range from, you wouldn't believe, and I'm not going to tell it, but I have friends that you would never believe that we would be in the same circle, or that we would be on the phone together, or we would be, you know, working, collaborating, and all this all over the world. So it's very very important that you diversify
Mhm.
your circle, especially when it comes to telling your story, especially if you want to get out of your family and friend circle with your story. You know, maybe put that in print, maybe put that in art, maybe put that in music, maybe put that in video. It's important for you to get outside of that and get an objective view, because oftentimes too, people go through things with us, right? And the way that we experience it is not the way that they experience it,
Mhm.
especially if they weren't the person, the target of whatever happened, right?
Mhm.
And so they may minimize your story because it didn't affect them that way, or they may be
Mhm.
like, oh, it wasn't that big a deal, but it really was a big deal, and you've
Mhm.
had to deal with some things. So you need to get out of that circle, and sometimes away from people who know you too well, that they think that they can tell your story for you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And then understanding the difference, right? Because to that point, there's individuals that know your story, and like you said, there's individuals that see it a different way. But when you're trying to tell the story to elevate it, sometimes individuals that do know you know other people that can help you, and they're not the best suited to do that.
Yes.
So here's something that says, I had a publishing company. and what you say, and put out good books. Camille's first project was exemplary, right? Made me proud. Yes, yes, yes. Good, yes. But I mean, so we have to be cognizant of those individuals, but not to stagnate ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, what we're saying is that your perspective, and I posted this somewhere, but your perspective will be either your prison or your passport. So if you never know where your story can take you, and it's not necessarily about you, it's about helping others. So your story can take you from this point in your life to somewhere else to help other people. Ultimately, it's to help others, right on. So you can't be afraid to tell your story the best way that you can.
Yes. And let me say this too. With that being said, Seth, a lot of times, I know that a lot of us, we have stories, right? And our stories are not always our own. So our stories involve other people. And it's the voices of other people that keep us from telling our story. How is this person going to feel? How are they going to react? Am I airing dirty laundry or telling my family's business, or all those things that people take into consideration, which keeps them, kind of prison to your story, because you're worried about everybody else and how they're going to react and feel about it and what they're going to say and all these kind of stuff.
Versus warriors. Yeah.
And so you have to kind of push past that. If it's that important to you, or that you have a very compelling story or experience, it doesn't even have to be a story, experience that people need to hear about, because you can also be a speaker. You can take that one experience, your life may have been great, but that one experience is the thing that shaped you. And you can be on a stage talking to 1 million people. There are ways to tell your story without telling on people. Now, there are people that are close to you who will put 2 and 2 together, or whatever the case may be. But you have to decide whether their voice is more important than your voice. Whether, you will allow them to continue to keep you hostage to whatever that thing is, and people do that. They kind of, kind of threaten people, if you tell, then wooty woo. Well, now that means you have more power over me than I do.
See?
And so sometimes we have to relinquish that and say, you know what, let it be what it's going to be.
That's right.
And there are people that, that say, and they get mad, but you can change names. You can, do pseudo, whatever you want to do, but you can still tell your story. Don't let that deter you from telling your story. There's so many ways around that.
There is. And it's necessary, right? Because your story is needed. And just like you said, if individuals guilt you into not sharing your story, that is control, but it's control for them, not you. It's your story, it's your joint, right? So you have to be able to do that. It's your truth. However, what we will always encourage is counseling. You understand? Hey, your mental health is your wealth, right on. So if you do not go to the right individuals to let it out, then you may not ever feel comfortable about sharing that. And then check this out. There may be times when an individual has done you wrong somewhere, sometime in your life, and you never had the courage to confront them, but you have the courage to express it. You see what I'm saying? You have the courage to express it in whichever way that you need to. Again, some individuals have the gift of gab. They can get behind the mic and just make it sound nice, smooth, and won't nobody know what it is, but they know that they're getting it out. Right. Then other people have to put it in art, but you see this most elaborate, emotional piece of art, but this person is putting their life history there,
Yes.
right? And they need to get it out. And that's the way that they can do it. But what I'm encouraging you all to do is to find the mechanics that work for you and make sure that your intent behind your story is always on the other side. So when individuals leaving, if they're seeing your story, if they're listening to your story, if they're eating, and then this is you might be able to dig this, might not, but individuals put so much love and passion in food. You understand what I'm saying? They can tell a story through their food by saying, hey, look, this is what my mama showed me. This was her mother showed her, boo, 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 boo. Right? So it's ways to do that, but get that counsel. You understand? Get that, because if you don't know how to do it the right way, it can come out backwards, and then your intent will not be met. Right? So that's what I'm saying. That makes sense. And you point at yourself. What you saying, Camille?
No, I'm saying I tell stories through food. I told you I love to cook.
So wait. So you tell stories through making quesadillas. Is that what you do?
I do.
Tell me how you do it with quesadillas.
So with quesadillas, because I'm from San Diego, right?
Mhm.
So there's these battles, right, between Tex-Mex, Cali-Mex, these Latin countries. Which ones are better? I like the ones that are fresh right off the thing. That they can make right there with the maize. They throw it on the thing, it flattens it out, comes through. But you know what I mean. There's so many things that you can do with quesadillas, with quesadillas, and it could be whether this is what my mother liked. You know what I mean? Quesadillas are not just Mexican anymore. You can get pulled pork quesadillas. You can get, Jamaican jerk quesadillas. There's a story in there. Why do you infuse those two flavors? It could be because that's my background. My grandmother was from this place and my mother was from this place, and I'm here in America, and I infuse those things and I put my own little spice to it, and even when I do a recipe, I love to cook. I always put my own little flavor in it. And then I always inject it in with love. And that's my story, is that I want people to walk away from my table feeling the love that I put in my food. Walk away. Me and my mom came down and, we went to this one place that was supposed to be soul food, garbage.
See,
it was very well known or whatever. It was not good. I literally left and I was like, this is a Sunday dinner for me. You know what I mean? Like, so I went home. My mom's like, I need you to make me this. I want some greens, some macaroni and cheese, some sweet potatoes, some, fried chicken, some black eyed peas, and you know what I did? Cornbread, all that. You know what I did? Threw it down.
See? And there you go. There you go. You're absolutely right. And you know what? I've experienced that too, right? And there's a place here not far in St. Louis from me that is known for having soul food, right? And everybody knows this spot, but of course I ain't gonna say it, right? Because
right.
But the deal is, I think in the beginning it was made with that whole love. Not saying that the love isn't there still, but because of the batch cooking, meaning that you have to make so much, you miss a little bit of that. You see what I'm saying? Yes. A little bit of that Lawry's in there, right? Just a little bit of that burnt edge on the side, right? It's little things that have to happen with macaroni and cheese. Let me tell y'all something about macaroni and cheese, y'all. Listen, you need to make sure you got the right amount of cheese. You see, it's about 6 or 7 different types of cheeses. Yes. Pull out, boom, boom, put it back in, let it get burnt on top a little bit, you stir a little bit, and then put a little bit of pepper, whatever you got to do. But that's passed down. That's part of your history, right? And so when you hear individuals say, oh no, go there, they got the best, the first thing that come to my mind is like, I hope somebody mom in the back.
Me to somebody great grandmama nowadays.
Grandma, listen, look, I need somebody back there that got the little fat flipping over, right? Stirring that joy. Hey, it might sound funny, but that's what I need, because I know that there is history behind that, and that I can taste the story.
But I ain't got none of that. You ain't got none of that. I ain't got none of that, but I've
been passed down. That's all right. You got it. You know what I'm saying? But go like this and watch it flip flap.
It ain't doing much.
But so the point is, we have to be able to understand that we can put our stories anywhere. And then even when you was talking about quesadillas, I was like, hey, well, what if I made a pork and bean and hot dog quesadilla? What would that tell people? Hey, listen, that is
it would tell where you came from and what struggles you had.
It don't matter. But I tell you one thing, it would be delicious. You dig it? Hey,
how was gonna stay in the tortillas?
pork can be. You got to flatten it and flip it. You see, you flatten and flip it, and you don't rub it down, but you flatten and flip it. You dig, and then you see, pour me in the hot dog. Make sure you put some sugar, just a little bit of sugar up in it, right? So it hits you just right, bam. But at the same time, like you're saying, it's showing people, wow, look what he did. Look how they infused it. Think about this. The Kool-Aid. Listen, the Kool-Aid company has already picked up on what we've been doing for years.
True.
Listen, I'm about to take this lemonade because I don't got enough, but I'm gonna take this raspberry. You dig, put it together, bam, add that, 2-3 pounds of sugar, but now you got something good. Now you go to the store and they got it called a twist Kool-Aid. Oh, really? That's what y'all call it? Hey, we've been calling it what it was since the 80s. You dig?
Hello.
So individuals will hijack your story in a way, but can't nobody do it the way that you do it. Ultimately, that's what it's about. So what's your last point, Camille?
I would just say, in this storytelling, my whole thing is really just tell your story, reach out and find people that can help develop your story. Your story, I always used to pray, God, don't let me be all the stuff that I went through be for nothing. Be for not, and I've learned that by telling my story, I've been able to help so many people who thought that they were the only ones who went alone, went through it by themselves. And when I tell bits and pieces of my story, y'all get the marriage part of it, that I've been married 3 times, which I don't care about. I do care, but you know what I mean? It's just who I am. But there are some other elements that are very intimate and that are very traumatic and things like that, that I share usually on a smaller scale. But I've been able to help so many people to understand that it's not just them. Like when I tell people I got kidnapped, they're like, stop playing. And they're like, you can just say it like whatever. Or when I say, I had to save this person's life, or I had to do, and they're like, oh, so you just talk about it like, no, you didn't. And I'm like, okay. You know what I mean? Like, and then they'll be like, did that really happen? And I said, yeah, you see my mom's on here. I'm able to talk about it because it's the truth, right? And so, I share those things and they're like, man, I never would have known. I'm like, exactly, because I didn't let that thing define me. So I'm telling you that better days are coming. Yeah. So it don't have to be that traumatic, but it could just be something simple, having to overcome a boss that doesn't like you. How did you get through that? Our stories heal. Our stories tell our history. Our stories, like we pass down those things. People don't understand in that macaroni and cheese. If you got those cheddars and stuff like that, throw some ground mustard in there. It makes the cheddar pop. A lot of people don't know that's the secret ingredient that our grandparents, mustard. In that cheese that makes it, you wonder, dang, there's that thing that's missing. There's something that's missing. Somebody probably didn't get that. They missed that ingredient. You know what I'm saying? And so with all that being said, there are small things like that. And it tells a story. And I can tell stories over my food. And I can tell stories over, my life experiences or whatever. So tell your story. Don't be ashamed. If people are telling you that it ain't nothing, find a different circle of people.
That's right.
Find people who can help you develop that. Or maybe book writing isn't your thing. So maybe they can pull out what it is that makes your story unique and makes it, stand out from the rest and helps you to spread that message to all the other people. So don't give up. There's so much power in sharing your story. It's healing for us. It's healing for other people. And it opens so many doors. I promise you, I'm a living witness of that. It opens so many doors.
Absolutely. It does. And also, ladies and gentlemen, we just want you guys to understand, just to echo a little bit of what she said, how important your stories are and the power in that. You never know what you have went through, how it can help illuminate another individual's life, right? Because this isn't, listen, when you were born, you did not come with a user manual, first of all, for yourself, nor for life, right? For that will work directly for you, because we all have different trials and tribulations. So be willing. Now we're flipping this. Be willing to listen to other people's stories. Now they might run off at the jibs and don't know how to cut it on off, right? So you work on that on your own. However, be humble enough to listen to someone else's story. And if every time you already know, if someone's trying to tell you something, but no, I know that. Well, that means, you know what? How can I teach someone that knows everything already? You
That's a
dig?
pet peeve.
Humble yourself, hush your mouth, right? Ask, why am I talking? And do I need to really say something? If someone has this power, if they are taking the time to connect with me, let me give them that. And then to that degree, ask questions. Right? Ask those questions so that not only are they able to share it, but you can ask questions as far, and not yes and no questions. So, yo, what did you do then? How did that make you feel? Right? So not only are you giving them an opportunity to speak, but you're giving them an opportunity to relive it. And you can see the excitement. You can see, yeah, I went there and boom, I dealt with that, but I remember feeling this way, and I felt it was hot outside. I was deployed over in the desert, and da 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 da. Give individuals the opportunity to share their story, because you never know the way the winds change. You might be in that same situation. Now you have a old roadmap that say, oh man, yeah, he did say that, or she did say boo 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 boo, because she told me that story about this one cat. This dude looked the same way. Let me go on ahead and go about my business, because I don't want to, want nobody to put me in somebody's backseat. You dig what I'm saying? That's what it's about. And Lily says, yes, it doesn't hurt to hear, right? Yes. What you know from other perspective. And yes, it's still learning. Yes, and that's the deal. That. Hey, be willing to learn. Be willing to learn. Why is it that when, and it's certain people, right? Not everybody, say, hey, look, as soon as you say something, you say, hey, I remember this one time I did boo, 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 boo. How about you do that? No, I already know that. I tried. Oh, all right, bet. Cool. Since you already know, but I see you're about to fall. You're about to fall on your face. You dig? But since you already know, apparently you like the way falling on your face feel. Boom, go ahead. And look, I'll be here waiting when you're ready to have this conversation. So you ain't still there hitting yourself on the face, because you know every damn thing. You understand? Listen to people. What you saying, Camille? What you say?
I was actually, when you were talking, what Lily wrote is exactly what I was thinking, and that's kind of my pet peeve. Like, even when I already heard something, I always seem to learn something else, and it's like listening to a song that you've sung for years and years, and then one day you hear something different, and you go, "Oh, that's what they said." Like, I've been singing it wrong all these years. You always learn something, or you hear something else, and so I listen. Because one, the person probably needs to get it out, and I'm in a space that I can do that. But two, I always try to find something else to learn from that. Even if I know something about something, I always take the opportunity to listen. Now here's the other thing too. People be like, you don't listen. I do listen. I hear what you're saying, but I move at my own pace. Mm-hmm. If it's something that you're trying to teach, I move at my own pace. Mm-hmm. But it's not that I don't hear you or I didn't listen or anything like that, because my ears are always listening.
Yes.
And my pet peeve is people that always, you try to tell them, I know, I got it, and it's like, so what am I here for?
That's right.
What am I here for? Like, right. That's just one thing that just be open to listen. And then the last thing, Seth, sharing your story. Speaking of listening, you never know who is listening.
That's right.
And you never know who regurgitates that story to tell somebody else. And that's how, people like the Iyanlas and the Lisa Nichols and, all these other folks that became who they were. It was the power of sharing their story that got into the hands of somebody who could do something with it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
You never know who's listening.
Yeah, you never know who's listening. But just to go back just one quick second, when individuals are sharing a story and, they don't necessarily they want to hear it, but they don't. And it's crazy. You can still learn, be willing to learn, right? And be willing to sit back and understand things from different perspectives. Because when you said like music, some things that you haven't heard before, how many times, one of my favorite songs is Lean on Me. Okay. It's easy to play. That was like one of the first songs I learned how to play on the piano. However, how many different versions are there? See, so you have it with the piano, you have it with the whole hip hop, Lean on Me song, right? Or the movie, you have it that way. You have individuals that can do it in an orchestra. So you have different stories can activate you in different ways. And then also too, just because, to your point, if I tell you something and you have your own way of going through it, I should not be upset because you didn't take my story and say, okay, now I get it. Now I'm gonna do what he said do. Maybe you're not the mission. You're right. Maybe they're not your mission. So, hey, I let you know how this is, and this is what I did. Now I'm walking away because I need you to find out things yourself, and then they may get it from somebody else. If you have a problem with that, you have an ego problem. Just because someone told me the same thing you said yesterday and I'm repeating it to you, it's not saying I didn't hear you, but I heard it this way and it resonated with me differently. It's not a slight towards you. You get what I'm saying? Yes. So we have to remove our ego from that and realize it's not about you in the first place. So if Camille told me something today and I'm like, okay, yeah, I can dig it, right? And then AG, my boy, told me something that's later on in the day, I'm saying, dang, you know what, that makes sense. And then I talk to Camille and say, hey, you know what? I remember what you said earlier. Or let's say the conversation started like this. AG told me A, B, C, and D, and you had just told me A, B, C, and D. Are you going to be the individual to listen, say, yeah, okay, cool. That's confirmation. Or you cut them up. Well, I already told you the same thing. Why did it make sense when that's ego. Hush yourself. You understand? Hush yourself, y'all. This is the sanity check. Am I lying, Camille?
Am I lying? You're not lying. You're not lying.
It don't matter. Listen, sometimes your voice don't resonate with everybody. Maybe you got an irritating voice. I remember one time I did it. And listen, your lesson may be extremely relevant. Right, your story may be extremely relevant, but somebody else can say it in a different way, and then they can say, "Hey, don't do it. I wouldn't do this. I went through that. Boop, 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 and it didn't happen right." Like, okay, cool. Same thing, different messenger. Same message, different messenger. Don't take it to heart because then nobody put your stamp on it.
Yes, I feel, and sometimes people when they're asked to do things or somebody's giving them something, trying to teach them, sometimes they're looking for a confirmation. So that second voice confirms and says, okay, you know what, now I need to do it because I heard it from two different people, you know what I'm saying? And now I get it. I'm gonna stop ignoring it, here it is or whatever. Or sometimes the message is on time, but to give to a person, but it has to germinate a little bit. You know what I mean? And they have to process it and figure out what that looks like for them in their life and how they apply it to the things that they want to, because they ultimately, if they're producing something or saying whatever, they have to connect to that thing and it has to feel right. So it takes a little bit of time to kind of process that mentally and emotionally and spiritually before you can actually act on something. And that's how I am. I always say when people tell me, it's not that I don't hear it, don't see it. I might not act right away because I'm processing. How does this look for me? And how much time, energy do I have to put into it? Or what product do I want? Or how do I want it to look in the end? And so until those things align for me, it's not that I forgot or somebody else was more important. It just has to sit there for a minute because I'm kind of analytical.
And you know what? And to that point too, how many times have individuals come back to you years later, say, I remember that one time we had this conversation. Listen, y'all,
far too many to count.
It's still happening to me, and I just go along with it and say, right on. Yes. I didn't forget. You understand? I didn't forget, but though it takes time for people to, like you said, they have to deal with it, and they need more confirmation so that it can make sense. And when they bring it coming back around, if it's on their mind, hey, you told me this when I was like 16. Here you are, 45 years old, but they still remember it. Right, they still remember it, and they still remember you as far as how powerful your story was. Because if you tell your child, watch this, and this is how we're gonna leave it. If you tell your child a story about your past, and they are at the age that they're at, it may take them to be the age that you're currently at to dig it. You see what I'm saying? So you can't be mad at them because they ain't pick up what you put down at the age of 13. Listen, here I am talking to somebody and I'm 40 years old. Like, look, you need to do blah, 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 blah. Because I remember when I was your age, da, 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 da. Okay, cool. But here I am at 40 just getting it. You get what I'm saying? So you can't expect people to get what you just got.
It's kind of like a parent, right?
Yeah.
You know, your parent trying to tell you, like, oh, I ain't going. And then you find yourself, you know, at that point where I was 27, I think I was, or 24, 27. And I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I'm sorry. Everything I had to put you through, I'm sorry. I get it now. I get it. But I had to go through my own things to understand in her, you know, at that age that she was, what she was trying to teach me. Because I had a young mind. I wasn't developed. I hadn't been through anything. So I'm just going off of what I feel in that moment. But it wasn't until my own kids started doing that same thing that I was like, I'm looking at this with a whole new lens.
There you go.
And then I had to go back and say, I get it now, Mom.
That's it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know.
And yeah, absolutely. But ladies and gentlemen, we do appreciate y'all. And we want to make sure that you have a great weekend. And make sure that you don't be afraid to tell your story. There's power behind it. Right on?
Right on.
Right on. Later.
Bye.